Okay, we are going to set up our environment for the Build Your Own Power App Solutions course. So what we want you to do is log into a machine. I highly recommend that you use a separate profile for setting things up on the web. So by default, you might be signed into Edge or Chrome with your work or home account. In order to keep things separate so that you don't get confused or you don't get or Power Apps itself doesn't get confused, like logging into different accounts, I highly recommend that you set up a new profile. So you can go into Chrome and you can go here and add a profile, or you can in Edge, very similar as well, you can go into Edge and add a new profile there. So once you've added a new profile, let's make sure that you've downloaded the zip file. So in the file section of the course, download the zip file and expand the zip file out. And in this first labs overview, in that PDF, what you'll see that there's some information about what we're going to do. And then here, before starting the hands-on lab, download the lab files. Well, you've done that, which is great. And the next one is to sign into Power Apps. Now, you might have the ability to create a trial environment in your work account. That could be possible. So go to here and see if you can log in and see if you can provision a demo environment here. See if you can do that. If you can't, then you'll need to set up a trial of Power Apps, and that's what I'm going to go through here. So you can follow it here, but I've got a different way of doing it, and it works in just the same way. But let's go through that. So this is setting up your own isolated tenant that you can play with for this training course. First things first is you need to get an email account. So go to Outlook, something like outlook.com. Create a free account, and then once you've done that, you can then go to this URL here, which is that. So if you Google Office 365 trial, I believe you will get to the same page. Office 365 trial. So yeah, you can go there as well, or this URL is probably better. I know this one definitely does it. So I'll make sure this URL is available to you as well. Okay, so we're going to go to free trial, and it's going to ask you to sign in. So sign in with the fab.com. And then set up account. Now this can be, so I'm just going to, it can be anything. Company size 1, Australia. Next, not business. So you need to, it should have been my real number. And then they'll send you a text message, and in that text message, you then put that in here. And just a password. Don't matter about these two. And then so what this will do is it will set up a free trial of Office 365. And this is the username and password that I'll be using. So fab BYOPAS, fab future ability, bring your own Power App solution. And I'm going to save that. Okay. Now we're going to go to the admin page. So once you've created a tenant, we're going to do a couple of things here. I don't need that anymore. And now it's going to set up the admin portal. So we've now set up the tenant here. What we're going to do now is cancel out of this. We don't need Office, just cancel out of that. We're going to just go to admin, to the admin center. And for the tests, for the labs that we're going to do, I recommend that we add a couple of users, just so there's some users in the users table. So we're going to add a couple of users. I'm just going to add my favorite TV show is Breaking Bad, so I'm going to add Walter White. So we don't actually need to sign in as a user at all. I'm just going to add them so that they're actually in the system. I'll add another one. Let's add Jesse. So Phil, I highly recommend that you set up a couple of users yourself in your test environment so you can see them. And finish that. So now I've added a couple of users. The next thing we want to do is we want to sign up for a trial of Power Apps. So we're going to go in billing and purchase services, and we're going to just look for power here. You search for power, and you will see here you've got loads of different apps, different options. We're going to go for the Power Apps per user plan and go to details, and we're going to start free trial and then try now. And now we've added the Power Apps licenses. Let's just make sure that the users have those licenses. So I'm going to go into active users, go into the demo, into the admin account and licenses, and make sure that we add each of these. I'm not sure if this actually makes any difference adding these two extra users, but let's do it anyway. Okay, so now we have set up, we've added Power Apps per user plan, we've added a couple of users. Now what we want to do is we want to create a trial Power Apps environment for us to play with. And the way we do that is we go into show all admin centers. Show all admin centers here, and you've got Power Apps. Click into Power Apps to launch the Power Apps Power Platform admin center. And in the admin center, when it loads, actually because we're using a demo tenant, we can actually use the default tenant. I think we can use the default tenant. Let me just double check something. Go into the default tenant here. We need to add a database. So we're going to go into the default. So in environments, you'll have your environment here that you created. Click in there and then click add database. English, Australia dollars is fine. And then click add database. So now that will take a while to create that database. About a minute probably. That's now ready. So go into there to make sure the database has been created. Excellent, we've got a database. Okay, cool. So now we're going to use the default environment in our demo tenant. It's totally harmless to do so. If you are in your own environment, I'd then create a trial here, create a new environment. This is what you should do if you're in your own environment. But because we've set up a brand new tenant, then we don't need to do that. We can just use the default environment. The next thing we want to do, the final thing we want to do, is in our environments, we're going to go to the waffle here and all apps and power apps. Or you can browse to make.powerapps.com. Make.powerapps.com will also get you to here. And what you're going to see is this screen here, which is the default Power Apps screen. And what we want to do is we want to import the solution. So if you've done app in a day, then you will have built an app. And we're going to build on top of that app that was created in app in a day. We're going to build on top of that in these trainings here. So we've actually got that complete solution as a solution file. Solution files are the way that you move objects between different environments. So inside the resources section, we have the completed solution. We don't want that BYOPAS completed solution. We don't want that because that's cheating. What we want to do is bring in the completed solution, which is the app in a day completed solution. So all of the tables and the app itself and choices and things like that, they're all bundled into a solution, and that's how we can export and import between different environments. So we're going to import this solution into this environment. So we're going to browse, and we're going to go to downloads. So wherever you've got your extracted zip file, and it's the completed solution we want to import. And click on that and click on next and import. And you'll see this bar here will turn green when it has imported, and it may take a minute or so. Just be patient, it will eventually turn green. Okay, so that should have turned green, and you will see a app in a day completed solution appear here as well. There's a few things you want to make sure before we proceed with the rest of the training. The first is go into the solution. Now here you can see all the different things that the solution contains. The first thing you want to do, now I've hit some problems in Power BI doing the Power BI things because we didn't publish all customization. So the first thing we want to do is go into here and click on publish all customizations and let that do its thing. For For some reason, Power BI had a problem. The connector had a problem collecting some data, and this fixed it. So let's do it now. So it's all sorted. That can take a few seconds to do. And we're going to do two other things before we can start. So we've published customizations. We're going to check that it works. We're going to check the app works. So if we go into apps, and you can click on these ellipses here and click on play. So this is the device ordering app. Just make sure that that works. So it's going to ask for a connection. Click allow. And what we should be able to do is click on one or two of these things here and click on compare. And then you should be able to go, I need a laptop, and click on submit, and that should work. So make sure you can do that. So that's the device ordering app. Make sure that that works. Click on OK, and you can close that. So just to recap, that is to go into this ellipsis, click on play, and that should work. The next one, we want to do the same thing with device procurement. Click on play. And we should see the order that I just did there, and we want to go to the next stage, supplier ID. It's working. We don't need to worry about that. It is working. There's just no suppliers in the table. It is working. That's all we need to do, is make sure that those two apps play, the data's going in. That's totally fine. So that's that thing to do. The final thing we want to do is go into Cloud Flows, and we want to turn on. Make sure that's turned on. And this status here needs to turn to on. So it's going to here. And let's see what connections it's missing. Highly likely you'll get the same errors here, so this is good. Click on Australia. Get started. So here it'll show the connections that this flow is using. Turn on. Let's have a look at the flow. So just go through each of these, clicking the buttons here. And then continue. So this should now work. Click on save, and this should go green. So to recap, all I did there was click on the edit button in the page. Okay, so in device approval requests, click on turn on. And it is now turned on, so that's good. So I went into edit. So just to recap how we did that, in the Power Apps, so I went into Cloud Flows in the solution. This here is the Cloud Flow. Clicked on new device approval request. That now opens up that flow in Power Automate, and we're going to click on clicked on edit. And what edit did is it brought up a list of all the connection references that this flow requires. And then we just went through and signed in as the logged in user to create those connections in the background. And that meant we could then turn on the flow. It's now on, so I've got all here, and I'm just going to click on publish all customizations again. We can ignore this. This is done. It's fine. So let that just run through, and that published okay. So we should have the solutions imported. So let's just go through our checklist here. So we set up the tenant and users. Make sure you set up the tenant and users. You've added the Power Apps per user plan to the tenant and the users. We're using the default environment, but added a database. Add the database. And then finally, we've imported the solution. We checked that it works. We turned on the flow, added the connections that we needed, and then we published the customization. So, yeah, that's it. You're now ready to actually do the labs. Yep, ready to do the labs. So I shall see you in the next lab, which is the Power BI lab, where we're going to import some data and create some cool visualizations. See you in the next module.